Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Studio Jake. So, this is part two of my return to 2024 now that the 2023 break is over. And as you know, I'm going through my top 10 list. I previously did my top 10 best films of 2023. This is my top worst films of 2024. Now, I already made the list on my website, studiojakemedia.com. So, you can definitely head over there and check them out there, but I wanted to go through them with my YouTube audience and my Rumble audience, and you can tell me what you think in the comments below. All right, so let's kick this off. And we have to admit, 2023 was rough. It was a rough year, and I have a feeling 2024 might be just as rough. It's definitely going to be the year of the sequel, but I think that there's some glimmers. That being said, 2023, it was hard to narrow it down to 10. I actually thought about doing a top 20, but I decided, nah, I'm just going to slim it down to 10 like I usually do, just because. So we're going to get started here. All right. Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire. So it's a typical hype machine from Zack Snyder. It is a lot of hype with no payoff, is what I mean by that. It is bland, it has flat characters, and worst of all, the characters aren't even in their own movie. It is a copycat of the Magnificent Seven, of Star Wars, of Harry Potter, of the Chronicles of Narnia. It just basically mismatches all of those movies together, and then Zack Snyder goes, "Oh, look how original I am." It's bad fan fiction at its core, which is a typical Zack Snyder movie. Most of his movies are just bad fan fiction of other people's works. So that was number 10. Number 9, Cocaine Bear. I was so disappointed. I was all prepared to love this movie. I thought the trailer was fantastic. It looked funny, but then the final product, not so much. It fails to live up, again, similar to Rebel Moon, it fails to live up to its hype. Its humor fades away pretty quickly and becomes nothing more than another stoner film that will soon be forgotten. And Elizabeth Banks directed it. How many times is she going to direct a movie that's not that good before people start realizing, yeah, maybe she shouldn't direct? And how many times are they going to give her a chance? Or a lot of these new directors are going to get a chance where they just keep failing up, or producers, or writers, or actors like Seth Rogen and Jared Leto. How many times do they have to fail before Hollywood realize, you know what, maybe audiences aren't jiving with them? Cocaine Bear was definitely more evidence of that in Elizabeth Banks' case. So number 8 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It, promised all kinds of a mania, but we got a dud. It was full of stuff everyone hates about the MCU when it could have been better if they had not focused so much on the spoiled brat of a daughter that Scott Lang had, and also the troubles with Jonathan Majors playing Kang. Because one of the things about it is Kang is supposed to be like this terrifying villain who's powerful enough to fight all of the Avengers. But then in this movie, he gets beaten by Ant-Man and the Wasp, which actually their bratty daughter Cassie had a big thing to do with that, and a bunch of randos that no one cared about. It just didn't work because Kang is supposed to be this big Thanos level threat, but then he gets beaten by just Ant-Man, Wasp, and their bratty daughter. It doesn't make sense to me. And I think that kind of took out a big thing of the threat with him. When Thanos was introduced, we only saw glimpses of him until it led up to the point where he actually became known to the Avengers. Okay, so next we have The Flash, and here's where the DCEU officially died. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was just the postmortem, but Flash was a film that had potential, but its troubles came through in the final product. It was too late and came at a bad time for superhero movies in general. What they could have done an amazing job with The Flash, but there was so many competing visions. There was all these different directions that the different heads of the studios wanted it to go, and it ended up just being a mess. And quite frankly, not even Michael Keaton returning as Batman was able to save this movie. It's a shame, not to mention the star Ezra Miller. He's a weirdo. He's the menace of Hawaii, assaulting fans, assaulting people with chairs, going nuts, kidnapping people, allegedly. all this other stuff. The dude was a mess, and they should have used this movie as an opportunity to recast him, but they were stubborn and they were dumb. And quite frankly, it just didn't work. It did not come together. And it's another example. I just mentioned several other people who, fail upwards. The director of this movie definitely is one of those, because they're saying that he might even be directing a Batman film in the future. And I think that's a bad move by James Gunn. Okay, so I like thrillers, I like detective thrillers, I like psychological ones. To Catch a Killer is not this. This was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It almost came off as a parody of the genre. To Catch a Killer is a serious misfire. Not even the cast attempts to save it could rescue it from the shallow attempt at using a serial killer story to criticize American society. And that's what this is. So basically, the serial killer uses the cover of fireworks to snipe a bunch of innocent civilians, but instead of it just being like a straight sort of noir thriller or a psychological thriller or even some way to discuss how society rejects particular people. Instead, it became like this, oh, let's lecture America about America. And I, of course, found out that the director, this was his first Hollywood movie. He'd mainly done, thrillers in Europe that no one cared about. And then here comes along this movie. It was boring. The acting was okay, but it couldn't just save it from its constant monologue about American society and why we eat too much and all this ridiculous, European nonsense. And, you can tell this guy's never been to the United States. And I mean, the director and the writers, you can tell they've never been to the United States and certainly never met an American, other than maybe the cast of this movie. Okay, so up next is The Strays, and I actually discussed this on another podcast at one point. I discussed it in my interview with the author of Wokeland, and this movie just didn't make sense to me. I use the word misfire a lot when I describe these movies, but this was definitely a misfire by Netflix. It lacks any sense of thrills or cohesion, and its themes just kind of messed with it. So it's basically about this woman. She abandons her black family in the UK and marries this rich white guy, has kids with him, but then her two biological children from her previous marriage, they return and start to kind of haunt her, but then they end up just kind of going crazy, and the movie just didn't make any sense, and you kind of feel hollow by the end of it, because you don't know what the message of the movie was, because even the conclusion just didn't make any sense. And I feel bad because her white husband, he's meant to be like his death is meant to be this, oh, the death of the white guy. But you feel bad for him because in the movie he literally does nothing wrong. He's not a bad guy. He's a really good husband. He's a loving father. And this whole circumstance just doesn't make sense. He is the true victim of this movie, not the kids who got abandoned, not the wife who abandoned them, and certainly not her new kids. He is that. It's so weird that they thought this was a good movie to run. Of course, they also ran Cuties, so what do I know? This is one, again, that I don't know how it got made. It's not even so bad it's good, and that's Puppy Love. It's a slog of a movie that I found was more of a chore that needed to get done instead of a film to enjoy. And it's a shame because it's got two actors who, came off of really successful television shows, and then this terrible plot, and Jane Seymour should fire her agent for getting her a role in this movie. That's how bad it was. Jane Seymour is a fantastic actress. She should be in more films, but this movie was one where, like I said, she should fire her agent or whoever convinced her agent that this was a good idea. All right, up next we have the comedy, The Outlaws. The Outlaws is a largely forgettable movie that is not worth your time. And it's a shame because it has Pierce Brosnan in it, who is a lot of people's favorite James Bond, not mine. I do enjoy his Bond films. He's also a brilliant actor. He's a wonderful singer. This movie was stupid. It could not be saved. It wasn't funny. It made no sense. It's one that you're not going to forget about how terrible it was after you watch it. Okay, You People, it was an out of touch film, and it takes out any semblance of the humor it was trying to it was trying to put within the plot, and instead it just lectures the audience. There's monologue after monologue about how terrible white people are and this, that, and the other. It's not even worth to see Eddie Murphy in it. It's good that he's returning back to film. I'm very excited for him. He's picked a couple of stinkers to be him, but I'm glad he's coming back. But this movie was not right for him. This was a terrible movie. It was awful. I think that it's going to be largely forgettable. I mean, the cast does a terrible job in it. Like I said, Eddie Murphy basically tries to carry this movie, but he can't. Not even his immense comedic timing could handle this movie. All right, so we are at number one, numero uno, and that was Noise. Oh my gosh. This again, a movie with plot twists that don't make sense. It made no noise despite its title. Again, a slog of a film. It was painful to try to get through it. And if you're bored and you want to take a nap, this would be a good movie to put on. Like, that's how boring this movie was. Again, another Euro trash film that doesn't go anywhere. It's about this guy who he moves into his childhood home. He starts to think that it's haunted. He starts streaming it, and even that streamer connection was dumb. It was just kind of used as a way for him to be able to monologue what was going on. It was, golly, terrible, awful, no good, very bad film. Normally, I don't think that a person should be required to go to college to learn a trade. Like, I don't think you need to go to film school to be a great filmmaker. This guy needed to go to filmmaking school. Terrible movie, awful. So, those are my top 10 worst films of 2023. Do you agree with my picks? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts and share your picks. You don't have to do all 10. If you're like, oh, I only have 5 or 3, if you just have one, put it in the comments. I would love to hear it. But I'm back. I'm going to be filming next week, and then I'm going to take a vacation because it is my anniversary with my super cute wife. We're going to go off on a little bit of vacation, but then I'll be back. You will see some older webisodes that I did for my defunct channel, StudioJake Faith. I'm just migrating them here, and I'm using this as an opportunity to do that. So you will see my old studio, my old studio, and you'll see me beardless. So I'm looking forward to it. I think you'll enjoy some of them. Now, they won't all be my StudioJake Faith stuff. I have a couple of other ones that I pre-recorded that I just didn't release because another topic came up that was more interesting or whatever. Those are also going to be released. So that's a little bit of a channel update for you. Also, check out my new short story, The Calm in the Snow, which is available and is free to read on my locals community. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment, tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to StudioJake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time, right here on Studio Jake.